Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with another episode of Hearts of Iron 4 with Total War. It sounds a little different saying that than what I'm used to saying with Black Ice, or Kaiser Reich or something, but we'll continue this as we push into 1938. Direct ground support. Now, what do we need? Oh, pause. I like the comfort. I like being comfortable. Okay, more utility vehicles, more support equipment. And there we go. And Nanjing has fallen now. Okay. Well, Japan's kicking butt, that's for sure. Hey Blaze, how is oh well, you're probably what's your date and how is Japan doing in your game? Versus China, you know, may have already defeated it, but I'm sort of interested. Okay, so we've expanded the cooperation there. Now, I think it's time to, well, let's do one last check. Just to see, deterrence. Which one? Maybe we want to do that right. We want to make sure we get this beforehand. Okay, yeah, we're going to do this right now. Oh, so 70 days. Okay, okay, didn't go to war with that. How interesting with China. How interesting. Okay, what do we need here? Armored cars, horses, more support equipment, I guess. More light armor. Skills and training, very good. Okay, so defense 13. Wish we could have both up at the same time. Hardness. I'm trying to see 57 where the What's the difference between these? Okay, soft attack is a lot less. Hardness, hard attack is 20. Hard attack is 18. Production cost is 29. Okay, this is probably the best of the two. So, and we might still want to unlock some of these things, but I think we will. Well, yeah, let's do this. That's why I don't like these things that pop up right in the center. I like pop-ups, but I want them off to the side. Or where I'm not clicking at the moment. And Dietrich's command and AK's command. Actually, this brown does sort of work for the NSDAP type stuff, but... Hello, Frog Eyes. Good to see you. Shift and click will keep them both up. Will they now? And what is coming due? MIFO bills? Yes, yes. Okay, we'll do that. That's what we had to do before. So, thank you. That's good to know. I'm not always good on the interfaces, even if they're things I play with a lot. So, shift and click. Oh, great. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you. Like I say, I can play things like this for hundreds of hours and never learn a little trick like that. Shift and then click. Because that way, obviously, these are now light versus mediums, but quicker, easier comparisons. And right now, I'm just letting it sort of be the earlier one, just to produce numbers, just trying to get numbers out there, and not trying to produce. We'll produce newer, better things eventually, but numbers are what's I'm taking as being important. We want air cover. And we need more oil. Thank God oil is coming in the next version of the game. But thanks to my viewers, people can learn tips like that. What is new? Is it... Okay, I think we want to get flying boats in production. Because they're different than float planes. Planes with floats on them. So yeah. Let's come here. Not outdated, but let's grab those and put... Okay, historically MIFO bills. No, let's come down here. In order to fund the growing military, and I've talked about this in sort of in a different way in the other German series. In order to fund the growing military industry and to keep it secret from the British and French eyes, we have been forced to use a balance sheet entity to route payments to in the form of promissory notes if we do not use our political connections to extend the due dates of these notes we will be forced to repay them and will no longer receive the benefits. Okay. Quite honestly, I hadn't heard them called MIFO bills before the Paradox people introduced it. Because no, I don't know everything about Nazi Germany. But I did know about what they were doing. And I say that in that I specifically don't, and it's, I don't know what obviously it's an acronym. I don't know if it's spelled out here, if it's something in German that I just didn't read or whatever. But basically it's the idea that the German government is not limited by the cost of an airplane. They can, 25 billion Reichsmark per airplane? Sure, no problem. Because they can just print up as much money as they want to print up. But if they do that, then that money floods the economy and creates inflation. And you still have, generally speaking, public budgets. In the sense that, they publish, and I don't know exactly what's going on in details, but, they do have the general German budget that's published. Partially this is going, and is happening because of the war reparations after World War II and the loans to pay back them and all that stuff going on. In the Hearts of Iron 3 version of Third Reich events, I have an event that talks about the Gustav Industrial Organization. Also, it starts with Wilhelm Gustloff being assassinated in Switzerland, but talks about them taking over the Simpson Arm Company. I was contacted because of that event. I was contacted by a member of the Simpson family that's still alive today, and he gave me some inside information. The Simpson family owned a small arms factory in Germany before World War I and through World War I. During the Weimar era and at the end of World War I, they were the only legal small arms factory to be able to produce weapons for the German government. Mauser and all these other people could no longer make weapons. They were sort of the smallest of the big arms manufacturers, if you will. And so they were allowed to continue to make arms. But they were monitored to a degree by the Western Allies. So when the German army, say, ordered 10,000 rifles, Simpson would make them rifles. But Simpson also charged them a lot of money for 10,000 rifles. Approximately the price of what 20,000 rifles would be. And when the Nazis came to power, they used this evidence to confiscate the Simpson factory as defrauding the German people. Because they, charged them so much, since they were the only legal manufacturer of arms, they doubled the cost of arms for the German people. But of course, the Nazis knew, because they had all the records, that the Simpson company had made them 20,000 and delivered 20,000 Mauser rifles, or whatever the number would be. They were specifically part of the conspiracy under the Weimar Republic to rearm Germany with new weapons. I don't know if you would necessarily call them modern weapons, but with new weapons. And so this was all being monitored under the Weimar Republic, and continues to be monitored after Hitler comes to power. Because at first you still have, it's no longer, when does the Weimar Republic stop? Is it the day that Hitler comes to power? No, because it's the same government. He's just chancellor. The Weimar Republic really stops the day that Hindenburg dies, and the day or so after that Hitler combines the office of president and chancellor into one and assumes the presidency. That's basically when it happens. But there's still this whole transition, and even you're looking at as late as, well, I don't know so much, well, 38 maybe, they're still paying off loans to America. They're still doing a lot of this stuff, that they're still being monitored to one degree or another by oversight from the Versailles Treaty. One element of the Versailles Treaty is, well, Czechoslovakia. How is it going to ship stuff out there? Well, Czechoslovakia has two ports, two ocean ports. One up here in Stettin and the other one out here in Hamburg. No, not the whole port, not the province should be there, but they had the rights to put cargo on primarily barges and move them through German territory without them being inspected, or in any way hindered by the Germans. And there may be also been some other things, but they had the right to use German ports without paying port fees, without the inspection. So a ship could pull up with a shipment of whatever it is for Czechoslovakia into the German port, unload it into like a special dock, and then that dock puts them on barges to send them to Czechoslovakia, and also takes away cargo for Czechoslovakia. That this was all under the Versailles Treaty. And so this is going on until sometime, I think it is in 1938, that Germany finally breaks that part of the treaty and stops Czechoslovakia from moving goods through Germany without German consent and oversight and taxation and anything else going on that they wanted to do. So Germany, so these MIFO bills are part of this situation of saying, hey, build these aircraft, build these tanks. Here's our basic promissory note for the money. You'll get paid. Don't worry about it, but we just can't pay you today for the hamburger, because if we do so, we inform the Allies that we're rearming Germany, and to the extent that we're rearming Germany. So, and Germany government could do this as much as it wants to. The problem is, and this is why Germany and a lot of the people talk about, is Germany had cash strapped. German economy, they don't have enough money, blah, 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 blah. Yes, that is very true. Germany needed things like chromium, tungsten, aluminum, rubber, oil, they didn't make enough in Germany. They needed that. And nobody really wanted the German mark, even the Reichsmark, because, even if it's valuable, it's no longer, an inflationary currency. What does Britain want with all these Reichsmarks? If it's not going to buy widgets, radios, toasters, whatever, from Germany, and if it's not going to buy raw resources from Germany, what does it want with Reichsmarks? It wants English pounds, or gold, or silver, or French francs maybe, or American dollars, or something like that it wants to do with things. So people, or companies and nations, a British company would be happy to be paid in British pounds, but it didn't want to have a bunch of Reichsmarks either in a bank in Britain or in a bank in Germany. It wanted to convert those Reichsmarks to pounds or to dollars or to something else like this. So currency problems is what's Germany's problem, is its ability to import. Yes, basically creative accounting, but I'm sort of going into the, not just for IKB or Patriotic Brit account, but the viewer is sort of what was going on, and not everyone's watched my previous series. So Germany has this hard currency problem, and so that's where it's cash strapped. It's not cash strapped when we're talking about building these things, so long as it's built with domestic resources, both manpower, machinery, and raw or refined materials or whatever. It can produce as much as it wants to. It just has that apparent public budgetary problems. And so that's what the MIFO bills are doing. And that's what they're simulating with the thing. I know that could just be creative accounting, but But that's sort of what's going on, is sort of the political and diplomatic dimensions to things. Okay, so stop. Okay. All you Europeans know what FIFA is. It's a cup. It's big. It's the size of the world. People care about it. Okay. Computing machines. Anschluss. And see this? This element, and the idea that you click this, you get this. This is good. In that we're seeing not just national focus. Okay, hit okay. Bye-bye. That, to me, underwhelms national focus. This is good. But, again, and I'm going to talk about, and I talked about in between episodes here, a reason that you should follow me over on Twitch to hear about interesting things. And, of course, you can ring the bell on YouTube to know when I'm going live there. I talked a lot, maybe boring a bunch of you, but about design elements. And I haven't done this for the Hearts of Iron 3 version of Third Reich events, but I did look into this very much for Third Reich events for Hearts of Iron 4. And so I've coded up, like I did for Czechoslovakia, I coded up a series of events that I've got to recode under this sort of new system here. But, and so I also talked about the idea that, yes, you need to have the, what's needed to do before. But it starts in 36, in which how to get Anschluss. Why does it happen? By sometime around 1936 or so, Germany basically could have marched into Austria without much violence, except that Italy would have gone to war with Germany. And in 1936, the Italian army is clearly stronger than the German army in 36. Not maybe so much 38, definitely not 39, 40. The German army is much stronger than the Italian army by that point. But earlier on, the Italian army is much stronger. And there's that you see at the beginning of this, the Three Powers Pact. That was a tripartite pact, but a Three Powers Pact is what it was called, between Italy, Austria, and Hungary. It was formed by Mussolini. It was set up basically either the very late 35 or very early 36, but it's signed in the beginning of 36. And it is an anti-German defense pact, basically. It doesn't specifically say that, but its primary focus is to stop Hitler's aggression. Now, also you have in 1936 the start building of the German-Italian alliance. You may find this odd in that you have a pact forming that's anti-German, and you have the start of the German-Italian alliance. This is because Italy had been very much allied with Britain and France and Italy. They were sort of the three major Western powers alignment in the West. It only really starts to fall apart, not with Mussolini, which comes to power in 1922, but in 1935 over the invasion of Ethiopia. And so you have their basically breaking of the alliance by France and Britain. The whore, it's not prostitute, but guy's last name is Whore. Laval tried to come up with an agreement that would give Italy some of Ethiopia, but would settle the war. But Mussolini doesn't go for it. And to the best of my knowledge, Haile Selassie, sorry, I'm butchering the name a bit, also doesn't go for it. So neither side really wants it. And so this sort of breaks the Franco-British-Italian alliance that's been going on. And so now Italy's out in the cold. Now it's already, because it sees the weakness of France, because also Romania is trying to get France to be its ally again, mostly at this time from Soviet aggression. But France knows it's not going to defend Romania, and too far away, war weary from World War One, all kinds of reasons. And Mussolini is seeing this as well. So he wants to have Austria particularly, but also get in Hungary as a buffer state to Germany. Hungary's interested in this as well. And this is also a bit of a possible alliance dealing with Mussolini's desire to get primarily Yugoslavia regions, in that some of this might end up Austrian and some of this might end up Hungarian, because, you know, if you give, say, oh, I don't know, this triangle of land or something, or maybe even more of it over to Hungary, Italy really doesn't care. Mussolini is not trying to conquer every place on the globe. He's just trying to recreate the Roman Empire, which is sort of, Yugoslavia. But, he's willing to deal with things to have this. But he knows that if Italy goes to war with Yugoslavia and Germany is sitting on its border if it takes Austria, which of course Hitler stated that Austria is part of Germany and that this is going to happen at some point. This is why there's this conflict talked about it in the previous, or a couple of previous episodes ago, about the difference between Austrian fascism and Austrian National Socialism. And National Socialism does not recognize Germans living in non-Germany. It's all got to be one country. So there's not a breakaway. That's sort of the problem with National Socialism in Austria, is that it can't abide the idea of an Austrian state. It has to be a unified country. And there's a book out there. I think it's called Hitler versus the Habsburgs. And I want to read it. And it's about Hitler's vendetta, or Hitler's anti-Habsburg crusade. And it goes into how he absolutely hates the Habsburg royal family and anything associated with it. Literally anything associated with it. He hates it with a passion. And so he wants to get rid of the last remnants here. And so Mussolini forms this Three Powers Pact. Well, like I say, I have a chain of events that you sort of have to work through to get Mussolini to allow you to get Austria, which in essence obviously breaks the Three Powers Pact. So sort of some of my design that this is a little too push buttony, a little too that. And I see Austria gold will reduce the cost, modify me for bills daily bill. Okay, so Austria gold. So tension is coming up. Okay, so we have the Sudetenland. We're now in June. Or we have Austria. We can now push for the Sudetenland. Just looking if there's anything else that we should push for before that. I'm also looking at dates, 35 days, maybe 9 days. No, I think we should start pushing down this path at the moment. Prepare the Kriegsmarine for war. Okay. Well, I like radios. Let's do more radios. So now we have Austria, and of course, Austrian Anschluss. Welcome to the Reich. More production capabilities. Quite a bit more production. No more naval production for some reason. I wonder why. Okay. Well, let's throw on another one of those. Let's increase that. Hopefully, we'll get a lot of medium tanks, and then add some medium tank. Oh, we already have towed artillery aircraft. Okay, I missed that. Okay, well. what do we particularly need? Okay, light armor, some more light armor. We're just slowly building up a reserve of medium tanks. Light armor's up here. We want lots of that. And we should also see about building some medium sort of bomber type. And maybe some heavy fighters. Just part of the reason is we have some fairly sucky medium bombers that I should improve. Making sure I don't have any of those in production. No, okay. We'll get these guys going. With some levels of production, and let's also get some, yeah, just one of 110s. How's horse equipment doing? Probably way more than we need. Yeah, I think we're gonna cut this way back. That'll get us more modern capabilities here. Do we want to do another production line? No, not. I'm just not feeling need more. Take a while to get that up to speed and well, I think we're good for model types. It's not displaying things well. There we go. Oh, we also need now a lot more resources, but hopefully we'll have more civilian ICs to handle that. Rubber. Tungsten. Alright, chromium. Okay, Sweden is already being pushed too far. Yeah, let's grab some Turkish. Okay, Yugoslavia requests sales of aircraft. Oh, what are we looking at here? Oh, this is just... Okay, fighters to Yugoslavia, tactical bombers. They can have fighters. Okay, Greek crowds at Heidensplatz. Stability, denounce the free market economy. And this sort of gets back to the... Hello, help me, how you doing? Yes, we're playing with the Total War mod for Hearts of Iron 4. Talked earlier about the National Socialist economic thing. And this is sort of why I don't want to describe it as capitalistic, because it is competitive, but it isn't a free market. So it's not specifically either one of those. So we're going to get both of these. And I'm going to talk loudly because we're trying to disrupt Mr. Mustache, because I don't want the Google bots to hear this and demonetize this. Hopefully that they won't do that, and maybe him talking over his self. And we don't want them thinking we're spreading National Socialist propaganda in Germany, because to me this just sounds like a ranting of a German, and which doesn't make any sense to me, but might to some Germans, and I'm not trying to promote that. Okay. Again, what do we need? What do we need? Light armor. Yes, we're building more light armor. We're building more regular armor. Let's build more regular armor. I really don't want to introduce. I think it's starting to get about time for some of this other building of things. Don't want to introduce things like light armor or medium armor until I have a large reserve of them. Republic of China has capitulated. Okay. So basically, everything that isn't taken by Japan is puppeted. China interior reorganized. I don't know why this isn't just a reorganized republic. That's odd. Oil plants, good. And that's another thing we should probably be building more of. And we could do more steel factories. Building some, both improving them and building some. Total War is I don't know if you've heard of the Black Ice mod. Is somewhat based on Black Ice. Some elements it's a little more simplified. So far it's looking pretty good. I've not played it very far. I'm so far just into 1938, and this is played a very earlier version that was really a sub mod to Hearts of Iron, or to the Black Ice thing. But International Crisis: the British Empire confronts Japan and calls the Sino War Conference large. Mainland China under direct Japanese control. Defiance of the League of Nations colonial powers feel threatened by the rapid Japanese expansion. Okay, so even though it's at peace. So you can see things like the German national focus tree is very well expanded and done out, and those kind of things. And it's a lot of changes. You can going through the industrialization trees here, and German aircraft trees and German tank trees. And they do it for other nations as well. It's not just Germany. And you can see like a lot of events, like a lot of SS events have been added and things like that. Okay, what's going on here? Okay, housing, fine. Details, but let's stop that for the moment. Singapore Peace Conference. The West and Japan have come to terms today on the Sino-Japanese War Conference. Japan will cede Pearl River Delta to Britain as part of the deal. Huh. I'll be quite honest. I've never heard of. Obviously, this didn't happen. I mean, I'll just straight up say that. I'm thinking about this as I'm sitting here. That's why I'm quiet at the moment. Should end the episode too, but trying to think through the world ramifications right now. You have three four, I don't know, at least three main players outside of Britain that would be concerned about this, or would have weighing. Interesting. Yeah. I'm sort of going bullshit to a point, but I'm trying to think this out before I just have my pure knee-jerk reaction and say this is a bad thing. America would find this intolerable. Not that they would go to war over it. Obviously, they didn't go to war over Japan doing this. They went to war over Japan, attacking the United States, Pearl Harbor, and the United States protectorate, or whatever you want to call it, of the Philippines. But they didn't go to war over China. So they wouldn't have gone to war with Britain. It's not that level of intolerable. But hell, they went to basically embargoing all trade with Japan over the war with China. Now here's Britain grabbing up territory. And with seeing what's happening here with Japan, I'm taking this is what's happened. That Japan now claims this. Japan now has puppet states in here deeper of some sort. That Britain taking this isn't just a temporary protectorate, kind of thing. A League of Nations mandate to keep it out of Japanese hands. This is British colonial expansion, and FDR would not like that. FDR's family had deep roots into the American element of the China trade. There had been, while there was the British whole China trade going on, there was also the America-China trade going on. And FDR's family was involved in it. That is part of the reason why FDR gets so involved in China. Right, yeah, but I don't even know that, well, particularly Chamberlain doing this? I don't see that happening. I mean, if any other historians, either, on the chat here or want to post below, would think Chamberlain grabbing that up. Now, I could maybe see something that was vaguely, if they thought they could move in and put troops as a peacekeeping, a protectorate type thing, that would be one thing. But having this peace conference that presumably Britain is recognizing that this is part of Japan. That's the thing. It's not just, we have chaos going around into China. Well, we have enough military forces to sort of occupy this territory, and we'll coordinate with local Chinese political, economic, cultural leaders to try to create an island of stability here. Okay, that I can sort of kind of see. But then you're jumping to the second part of recognizing Japanese control over, according to this, absolute control. This is as part of the Empire of Japan. And this, and over here, and whatever the hell this is, as de facto Japanese control, and that these are recognizing a puppet state that's Japanese controlled and giving legitimacy to the state. I just don't see, and of course, now that there may be another event popping up here giving this to France or something, but so I don't see Britain doing this. I don't see America approving it. And the other I mentioned out here is France as a major player. Both France, Britain, and previously Germany before World War I all wanted large trade zones, shall we say, in China. They didn't want to do... Yep, Mosley, somebody like him. And I could see maybe under a because obviously this is alt history, but under a situation under Churchill, because Churchill was very much a proponent of the British Empire, is once there was a war with Germany, if Japan could be got out of faction, never actually get in, never go to war with Britain, and break all ties with Nazi Germany and come into alliance like they were in World War One. And Britain had a fairly old alliance, shall we say, with Japan. Britain and Japan were primary naval allies in the Pacific. A lot of the Japanese naval officers had trained with Britain. A lot of the stuff dates before the war with Russia, the Russo-Japanese War. That there's a deep history between Britain and Japan. That's one of the reasons why Scottish stuff is still to this day very popular in Japan, particularly Scottish tartan and other things. Scottish is still very, very sort of popular in Japan, and it goes back to the days of this alliance. So Churchill, Churchill, after France falls, Churchill's alone, and if really they thought reliably you could get Japan as a reliable ally, especially if you're seeing a continued Soviet-German or Soviet-Nazi alliance going on and not thinking it's going to break, the war hasn't broken out. I could maybe see Churchill agreeing at that point under those conditions. Maybe. As a very pragmatic desperation plea, especially if you were to have had not FDR as president and an isolationist, even more, a core isolationist as president of the United States, and thinking that you could not have Japan as an enemy to the British Empire as well, and not allowing Japan into the Dutch East Indies. And so this is, completely out of the Axis. So Germany and Italy and maybe the Soviets with, whatever small thing here. But if the Soviets act up, Japan's coming into the, actually into the war with the Soviets to get the rest of Sakhalin Islands and try to, clean up the coastline here. Maybe I could see Churchill going down that route. But that's only under those conditions, not under otherwise peaceful 1938 conditions. France would, once a chunk of China trade too, like I say, maybe we'll see an event that gives them something here in a moment, but no, I'm not buying this. This okay thing is not what I'm seeing as realistic. I'm seeing that as a highly unrealistic detente event or something like that, whatever you want to sort of call it. But okay, 38. Yeah, I think we need to we make it let's improve our artillery. We'll see what comes here soon. Singapore Peace Conference. Okay. Japan, as we'll see, to South Jiang to France as part. Okay, like I was thinking that. Yep, we saw all of this go over. So they're keeping the islands. It looks like this I knew was fairly important to Japan. This island of Hunan or whatever, however you pronounce it, Hainan. Tour de France, 38. Because they wanted it to protect the trade. Yeah, I'm not happy with that. I would not allow that in the game of any realistic World War II mod that I'm thinking of. Now, if somebody wants to show me period papers, period. Yeah, maybe China lasts longer. Yeah, obviously China didn't fall, so yeah. Well, but also, no, I guess that's the standard sort of border there. But for a minute there, it looked like it moved further. east, but not really. Now what do we need again? Light armor. We're just now at the balance point, so let's... How many do we most... We're going to add some units here. And we're going to come over here. These I think are... Hold on. Nah. Because before, well, definitely before 38, I'm not interested in adding, especially when you're having a Black Ice base mod with all these event-given divisions. Ostmark, yeah, okay. I want some to get the division, infantry brigade, Schnell divisions. They're giving me all the Austrian stuff, motorized, semi-motorized. Okay. Trying to look at the difference between that and this. Looks like mostly heavy artillery. Motorized, yeah. Yeah, we're gonna go that, and we're gonna set location here in the west, and we'll add a couple of units. And we're going to end the episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. Hope to see you next time for more Hearts of Iron.